All right, so I'm back again, and it's getting dark. My child needs feeding, and I just wanted to sort of tie up today's musings or inquiry about narcissistic tendencies and the shadow parts of us that keep us dimming our life, keep us in the doubt. I'm certainly in that place of the Virgo and energies of the inner critic really screaming at me right now. And perhaps it is enough to know that, some realities we simply can't comprehend. Could we even begin to conceive the inner workings of a serial killer, or believe that we have at some time taken other people's lives, used that killing energy in a way that we would rather not, to go back in time and kill people we should have killed and unkill people that we shouldn't have. And I was talking about this on a interview today about what the animals want us to know about this, why they want us to just wake up and realize that until we actually become that Christ consciousness energy of the lion heart, of being the lamb and the lion and laying down together, to look at both parts of our human beingness as the shadow and the light, that's the place of allowance, of forgiveness, where we don't have to understand what's going through the mind of a terrorist or a rapist or a con artist or a thief. If we are someone who could never do such a thing, then no. But I want you to get really curious about the unimaginable, the unbelievable parts that we don't like, where we simply can't put ourselves in their shoes, and in making that conclusion, we can't soften our hearts and come back to the parts of ourselves that we find despicable and unlovable, and put those shoes on, because we can't even begin to imagine what goes on inside of a mind that would intentionally set out to destroy another, because we place too much value in human life, and yet we're willing to destroy ourselves. We're willing to kill ourselves, our own essence, our own true nature, as being the parts that are not willing to live. So we value human life and welfare over our own selfish needs, and yet we are not willing to be selfish enough to really practice that radical self-care, to go into the shadows, to go into the dark of our soul, of that spiritual part where we divorce ourselves from what we came here to be, and love the parts even though we don't want to, right? To be, as my coach Hilary said, to be our biggest champion, and to follow the light even though the dark is there. And although we know it is important to take care of ourselves and put ourselves first, sometimes if we live by the golden rule, we do unto others as we would want them to do unto us, and yet we're not willing to do that for ourselves. We care about others, but we don't take care of ourselves. We don't want to see people get hurt, and yet we're willing to hurt and kill ourselves. And if we could just come to a really strong understanding that there are scorpions in the world, and that they do sting, and that we have that potential to be the scorpion. And instead of drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, that we're injecting ourselves with the poison of everything that we don't want to be in the world, that we see terrible things going on. We see how people are treating each other. We see how people are treating animals and the earth, and we want change, but we're not willing to go into the shadows. We're not willing to get into the parts where we're projecting the hurt. We're projecting the place that we actually don't feel safe in onto the world, and creating more separation rather than coming home to our hearts and recognizing that we're all in this thing together, that we're so inextricably linked into this tapestry of deep remorse, of fear, of not being enough, of not having a voice, and in so doing, we become the swan and the scorpion. We become the lion and the lamb. And those predator and prey aspects of ourself are those deep parts of wounding in our psyche where we have to stop. We have to be willing to see where the hurt is. We have to be willing to heal from our own trauma by rewriting our story. And that, you know, perhaps if we could just become more aware and trust our instincts more when something just doesn't feel right. You know, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So trying to project our beautiful swans upon the ugly duckling within ourselves, you know, the inner work is seeing the parts that we don't like, the parts that we think need to stay in the dark. You know, it is that part of being able to love the ugly duckling as the swan that we're emerging into, to know that just as the butterfly has to, in order to be a beautiful butterfly, it has to be in the cocoon. It needs the boundaries, it needs the safety of the cocoon that it weaved in order to fall apart so that it can fall back together in a bigger way. That's where we start to recognize the beautiful swans that we actually are, that we need a safe container to fall apart and know that it's messy, that life isn't always going to show up the way that you want, but we are the only ones that can be our champion. We're the only ones that can stand in the truth and know what we stand for in order to move into a space where through our own frailties, through our own weaknesses, through our own doubts and our own suffering, we get to transmute that into a place of truth and triumph, and then the world gets to be a better place. So I invite you to look at the places where you have called yourself despicable, the parts where you would be willing to swallow your own poison rather than project that into the world, and yet in doing that, in owning that you're not, you get to grow into the parts of you that have already been there in your divine blueprint to make a difference and make a positive impact in the world. So I hope that was meaningful and useful and has given you the space to look at the shadow and the light, and to look at the parts where you're willing to go, even though you're afraid, even though you're still making other people and other things more valuable than yourself, that you honor the parts of you that you don't value, because they're not going to go away, right? Doubt and resistance are there to push us into being better than we were today. And I'm choosing that more and more, and it isn't comfortable. It is making me not sleep so well at night, but I know it's temporary. And with the right support, and I'm so grateful that I have amazing people and amazing mentors in my life like Hilary, to deliver me strong medicine when I want to use those narcissistic tendencies against myself. And it's not a very honoring space, and I know it isn't, and yet those pattern repeats are so deep that we need the anchor. We need people to show us our light and to remind us who we came here to be. And I hope that I am being that to you in the service of not only healing my own wounds, but in healing the wounds of the collective, of giving you a lifeline, so to speak, to know that all right. So I honor you. I see you. The connection is weak. I'm going to try and get to bed before 10 tonight. And I just invite you to practice some radical self-care and just know that you are loved, and the light in you shines like a beacon of hope for not just yourself, but for others too. And until we access that part of us and step into that fully, and know that it doesn't all happen at once. I don't believe that we're given more than we can handle, and that we only access those parts that have been in the blind spots, that have been so deeply buried within us, until we have a space of safety. So I really hope that these Facebook Lives are giving you a space to feel safety, to feel supported, and to start telling your story in a new way, and being your own champion even when you don't want to. And if it interests you, we're starting, it's just one day to go before we start the Shadow Dancing 2-part teleclass series, where we're going to really look at where we're holding ourselves in perfectionism as a way to not show up and turn that trauma into triumph and truth. And if that resonates with you, check it out. I'll post a link below. And if you're curious to know who this incredible woman is that I have in my life right now, who's really making me step out of my comfort zone and into more authentic truth-telling for myself, her name is Hilary Ida. And she's just opened up a beautiful invitation to also reach more people, create a bigger impact in the world with her medicine. So check Hilary out if you're ready to make a big leap, if you're ready to really claim your own medicine. I'm always so grateful for the people that show up in my life when I'm really asking the universe for divine support, that they always come through and to me, and she really speaks my language. She gets me, and she's manifested huge things in her life under adverse conditions a lot of the time. So, you know, if you're ready to step into your bigness, and stop playing small and really do justice to the purpose that you carry within yourself, and you're sick and tired of being frustrated with all the persistent fears and self-doubts, check out Shadow Dancing and check out Hilary. She's amazing. And people are often surprised when I talk about the people that have been a huge impact in changing my own life, because I've found that in my own local circles that people aren't willing to do shout outs. They're not willing to honor and acknowledge and pay it forward for the people that have helped them to step into the world in a bigger place, and for fear of being judged as not enough, or that they're going to lose business or clients because they haven't got their crap together. And I've always been on a mission. I've been on this mission for years to create a different place of being, where women can really celebrate women, where people that are in the same field of raising consciousness. I mean, you know what? At the end of the day, we can't reach everybody, and the more of us that are actually speaking the truth and raising consciousness as only we can, the faster we're going to get to create a sustainable planet where everybody and everything thrives. And I want that, and I'm willing to push my ego aside and say, you know what, I honor and celebrate and salute the women that are on this journey with me, that are aligned to my beliefs and my integrity and my mission in the world, to get people to really heal from the root cause of what's causing their suffering and causing the trauma, so that they can stop struggling in this place of the addiction to the story of not enoughness. That if I honor and acknowledge and give a shout out to somebody else in my industry, that somehow I'm not enough. You know, I think it's time to stop that. And the only way to stop it is to choose to step out of that old 3D reality of not enoughness, and actually start to create communities where you're not only seen, but in the collective, we are going so much further. You know, your medicine is your purpose, and nobody on the planet is going to speak the way you speak or deliver what you deliver. You're not your modalities. You're not your PhDs. Your PhD is your life experience, and there's only one of you that has that story. So get out of your own way and stop with this not enoughness, that there's lack and scarcity on the planet, that if I say that somebody else is shining, that there's not enough shine to go around, that somehow I'm less than. Because the sooner we do that, the sooner that we live free, unapologetically in our own truth, the sooner we create change on the planet. And the sooner we get out of this victimology and this criticism and this self-sabotaging abuse that's killing the planet, and into more love and more community rather than the separation. You know, we all want the same things. So choose it, believe in you, touch the parts of you that you think are untouchable, and know that you're not alone. You know, when you start to share your gifts boldly and authentically and with a courageous heart, other people get to stand up and be courageous. So I'll leave it at that. Look at the parts where you are still stinging yourself with scorpion's venom, because you can't see the parts that you have defined as unlovable or not beautiful or graceful, like the swan. And put your stake in the ground. Put your stake in the ground and change your story and be who you came here to be. Because remember, the world's not looking for somebody like you. The world's waiting for you and your unique talents and capacities in the world. So I send you lots of love. Have a beautiful rest of the day or night wherever you are. Rest, honor your body, listen to the little nudges and the spidey senses, and follow that. Listen to the pull, and know that you are divinely supported, way more than you